You're lying in bed at 2 in the morning, and you're having a full conversation with someone who isn't there. You're defending yourself in an argument that never happened. You're rehearsing a confession you'll never make. You're living through a scenario that exists only in your head. And the emotions you feel? They're as real as anything you've ever experienced. You are not alone in this, and you are not losing your mind. Welcome to the hidden world of maladaptive daydreaming, fantasy-prone personality, and the psychology of people who imagine fake scenarios. This is about the conversations you have in the shower, the alternate realities you build while walking to work, the entire lives you live inside your head that no one else will ever see. And here's what most people don't understand. This isn't just imagination. This is a coping mechanism, a survival strategy, and for some of you, it's become so powerful that the line between your inner world and your outer world has started to blur. Let's start with what's actually happening in your brain when you do this. When you imagine a fake scenario, your brain doesn't fully distinguish it from reality. The same neural pathways light up, the same emotional responses trigger. If you imagine someone rejecting you, your brain experiences rejection. If you imagine yourself succeeding, your brain releases dopamine as if you actually succeeded. Your body doesn't know the difference. This is why you can feel your heart race during an imaginary argument, why you can feel tears form when you picture a fictional goodbye, why you can feel genuine anger towards someone who wronged you only in your mind. Your nervous system is responding to a threat that doesn't exist, but to your body, it's real. Now, here's where it gets complicated. For most people, these fake scenarios serve a purpose. They're mental rehearsals. You imagine a difficult conversation before it happens, so you feel more prepared. You replay a past interaction to process what went wrong. You daydream about success to motivate yourself toward a goal. This is normal. This is healthy. This is your brain doing what it was designed to do. But for some of you, something different is happening. You're not just rehearsing, you're escaping. You're not just processing, you're replacing. The scenarios you create have become more vivid, more emotionally satisfying, and more controllable than your actual life. And slowly, without realizing it, you've started to prefer the world inside your head to the world outside of it. This is where maladaptive daydreaming begins. You started doing this as a child, maybe, when reality felt too painful, too boring, too overwhelming. You built a world where you had control, where you were understood, where you were the hero, the genius, the loved one, the powerful one. And that world became your refuge, your safe place, the one place where you could be exactly who you wanted to be without judgment or consequence. But here's the cost that no one talks about. Every hour you spend in that imaginary world is an hour you're not building your real one. Every emotion you invest in a fictional relationship is energy you're not putting into real connection. Every problem you solve in your head is a problem you're avoiding in your life. And over time, the gap between who you are in your imagination and who you are in reality becomes so wide that it starts to feel impossible to cross. You know this feeling. You've lived it. You imagine the perfect response to someone who hurt you, but when you see them in person, you say nothing. You rehearse asking someone out 100 times in your mind, but when the moment comes, you freeze. You create entire conversations where you're confident, articulate, and brave, but in real life, you're quiet, uncertain, and afraid. And then the shame comes, because you know you're doing it. You're aware that you're spending hours lost in your head. You've caught yourself smiling at nothing, talking to yourself, acting out scenes in an empty room. You've realized that you know your imaginary friends better than you know your real ones, and you wonder if something is wrong with you, if you're broken, if you've gone too far. But here's what you need to understand. This behavior didn't develop because you're weak or strange. It developed because you're creative, because you're sensitive, because at some point in your life, reality was so difficult that your mind gave you a gift, the ability to create a better one. This was your survival. This was your way of staying sane when the world around you felt insane. The problem isn't that you imagine fake scenarios. The problem is that you've started using them as a substitute instead of a supplement. Let's talk about the different types of scenarios you create because they reveal something important about what you're really seeking. There are the revenge fantasies. Someone hurt you, dismissed you, underestimated you, and in your mind, you make them pay. You imagine the moment they realize they were wrong about you, the moment they regret what they did, the moment you finally get to say everything you've been holding back. These scenarios are about power. They're about reclaiming the control you felt you lost. Then there are the rescue fantasies. You imagine yourself saving someone, proving your worth, being needed, being irreplaceable. These scenarios are about value. They're about answering the question you've been asking yourself your whole life. Do I matter? There are the romantic fantasies, the perfect partner who sees you, who chooses you, who loves you without condition. These scenarios are about belonging. They're about filling the loneliness that you carry but don't always name. And then there are the escape fantasies, different lives, different identities, different worlds entirely. These scenarios are about relief. They're about stepping out of a self that feels too small, too damaged, too trapped. Each type of scenario you create is a breadcrumb, a clue. It's showing you what you're missing, what you're craving, what you're too afraid to ask for in real life. But here's the truth that's hard to hear. No matter how perfect your imaginary world becomes, it will never satisfy the need that created it. Because the need isn't for a perfect scenario. The need is for real connection, real accomplishment, real presence. And those things can only happen outside your head. So what do you do with this? How do you break free without losing the part of yourself that imagines? You don't stop imagining, you redirect it. You start by becoming aware of the pattern. Notice when you drift. Notice what triggers it. Is it boredom, anxiety, loneliness, pain? The moment you feel yourself slipping into a fake scenario, pause. Don't judge it, just notice it. And ask yourself, what am I avoiding right now? Then start small. Take one thing you imagine yourself doing and do it in reality. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just real. If you imagine being confident, practice one confident sentence. If you imagine being creative, create one real thing. If you imagine connection, reach out to one real person. The goal isn't to kill your inner world. The goal is to build a bridge between your inner world and your outer one, to take the courage you feel in your imagination and bring it into your life, to stop living in the rehearsal and start living in the performance. Because here's the final, most important thing. The person you are in your imagination, the brave one, the articulate one, the loved one, that person isn't fake. That person is you, the real you, the you that exists underneath the fear and the doubt and the years of learning to play small. Your imagination didn't create a fantasy version of yourself. It revealed the version of yourself you've been too afraid to become. And that version is waiting. Not in your head, but in your life, in the risks you take, in the words you speak, in the moments you choose presence over performance. You've spent so long imagining who you could be. Now it's time to become them, not in a scenario, but in reality. Not someday, but today. The world inside your head has been your sanctuary, but the world outside your head is where you get to be real. And real, messy, and imperfect and present will always be more powerful than perfect and imaginary. Your imagination is not your enemy, it's your map. It's been showing you where you want to go. Now you just have to take the first step. If you recognized yourself in this video, drop a comment and tell me what kind of scenarios you imagine most. And if this opened something up for you, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're building a community of people who are ready to understand themselves deeply and live more intentionally. You belong here.